Hey, and we are live. Hopefully you can hear me, so just give me a thumb up or comment in the chat if you can hear me. I can hear myself from my phone, so I'm just checking a couple things. I'm just gonna wait to the guys to turn up. They should be here in a second. I think Charlie still has a client, so he's gonna make a big run or cycle, and then he's gonna be a little late, I think. Gus is here. Nice. Hey, dude, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Are you just waiting for Charlie? I think he's finishing, right? It's 6, and then he's gonna cycle home like mental.
Oh yeah, he said he'd get back in 15 minutes, which is never gonna happen.
Yeah. Jesus, look at his. He's here already, man. Did you just cycle like in 5 minutes, or?
I mean, yeah, I hammered. I absolutely hammered it, mate.
We were just about to say you didn't live up to your reputation, but you did.
I am good on a bike, mate. I'm not just a fat strong man.
If you need a second, go get a drink or something.
I've got one. Look, I'm fully ready. I've got sparkling water. I'm all good.
Okay, good. Okay, how you doing, guys? How's we're just gonna catch up a little bit with the audience. How's the gym opening since we went back? Just give me a little update for everyone who is here. How did you find clients, training wise, and everything else? I don't know who's gonna start.
Gus,
go. Charlie can catch his breath.
Yeah, no, it's been great. I mean, it's the convenience of being able to train where and whenever you want. In a sense, it's just the beautiful thing about being back. That's the thing I'm appreciating the most. Training's gone through the roof since we've had the availability again. Obviously, clients feel much better. Everyone's starting to get their mojo back. It's what, 2-3 weeks in, or is it 3 weeks next week?
Yeah, I think this is third week, right, or something.
Yeah,
I think this is the third week. Yeah.
Yeah, so people are starting to get full back in the swing of things and starting to feel the psychological benefits of it.
Yeah. How do you find it? Is it busy in your time slots, or is it normal? Because we are talking about this is, if April is going to be like April or January. I think it's definitely not like January, right?
I'd say yeah. No, it seems to be busy at the moment on Monday and Friday. That seems to be the busy times.
Monday, Friday, like you mean all day, or like today was mental, man. It's so busy. I couldn't get a squat rack for like half an hour.
Yeah, so and it seems to be the same on Monday, but then the middle of the week seems to be a little bit dead. I think probably because people are working from home mainly, and then maybe they feel guilty on Monday, and then on Friday they're like, I need to look good for the weekend.
Yeah, weekend is quiet. There is like 10-11 is peak, and then it gets dying down. Sundays nothing. Charlie?
Yeah, I felt like it's kind of been busy throughout, really, for me, like as far as PT and for like when I'm working at the gym or whatever. I felt like Tuesday night was super busy. I felt like Wednesday was, like those Tuesday, Wednesday nights I find typically are pretty busy. But yeah, it's been good for me. I mean, yesterday was one of those days of 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I then got home at like 8:30 and then slept from 9:30 until 7. So I was just absolutely fucked, I think. But trying to get back into swing of things of just like working fully, all day with clients or whatever. More at least morning to evening, not necessarily all day. As you guys know, PT is a bit of a weird one where you have like it's kind of split up throughout the day. I think Gus does a great job of keeping all of his clients in the morning. I hate that. Like I don't like doing that. I like having it split throughout the day. So I tend to have people kind of like that 9 a.m. to 12ish and then 3 onwards, which is kind of perfect for me. But I know that you guys both like to do those 6 a.m. sessions.
Morning's the best.
No, why?
Yeah, we just get there.
Get in there, get it done.
And then by 12, you're free, man.
I feel like I can't give them like full energy me. If it's 6 a.m. I'm like, hey, so we're gonna do 3 reps on deadlift. I just can't.
You gotta get used to getting up early, man.
It's a little easier that the sun is up by the time I go to the gym, because like when it's like dark, it's really a struggle. Yeah, it's true.
Cold. Lots of things going for it.
Yeah, let's touch up a little bit about your training. Like, how do you find it coming back? You get your strength back, or whatever you after, You want to go, Gus, first?
That's the end. I was like, is there
That
more?
is the end. I was just waiting. I was pointing.
The way
at
you said it was like
come on.
there was going to be something else.
You went first last time. Let's go. Let you go first again here.
That makes no sense whatsoever. But okay. Yeah, it's going great at the moment. I think strength-wise, I'm pretty much better. I managed to maintain throughout lockdown, so it wasn't like I was starting at a deficit anyway. I sort of just stayed where I was. A little bit more body fat than I had, so that started to drop back off again. But in terms of training, I think maybe it's a placebo of being back and having that availability, but you feel stronger because you appreciate it a little bit more. You appreciate the convenience of the fact that you don't have to, say, commute to a park or so-and-so to train. You have access to all the equipment you need. It feels easy to train, if that makes sense. So, training's going great. All moving in the right direction.
For you, Charlie, you were pretty beaten up yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, I'm taking a bit of a beating because I'm in prep now. So I've been doing a lot of frequency on the main movement. So I've doubled my squat frequency, my deadlift frequency. I've got essentially 2 strongman days as well a week, and incorporated into that some extra strongman movements on my non-strongman days. So like, on a day where I'm doing squats, I've also got like a dumbbell floor to overhead press, single arm kind of thing. So yeah, I'm kind of like beaten up from the training, but I'm loving it so much that it's kind of balancing out. And it's like I feel a bit beaten up, but also it's so much more fun that I'm really appreciating being able to be beaten up a bit,
Yeah. Do you guys both training more than in lockdown, or?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Night and day. Like, it was enough. I was doing enough, but it wasn't exactly pleasant, and very limited equipment.
Okay.
Not the same drive. Like, there's an idea of like, be grateful for what you had, and it was good to do the things I could, but it was, it wasn't the same in terms of I had the luxury of literally following my program to a T, and that's a beautiful thing to have back.
Yeah, I mean, I had quite a structured program for at home, so it wasn't like a massive shock for me to get back into the gym. It just felt all much nicer because, I think we've spoken about this, just the fact that when you're deadlifting, for example, I don't have to take all of my plates from inside my house to outside, deadlift, bring it all back in, and then do the rest of my workout. Now I just go barbell, plate on, done. And that's like so much nicer and easier. And it just makes training much more enjoyable. But I wouldn't say that I'm training necessarily much more, because I was kind of doing four training sessions that were mostly strongman, deadlifting, powerlifting kind of oriented. And then I do a ring session as well. So I was doing 5 sessions, and now I'm still doing 5 sessions, but the frequency of my main lifts is brought up. So definitely the overall fatigue that I'm building is a lot more, but I'm not, it didn't feel like a massive shock, and I'm not suddenly training way more. It's just, more tiring because I'm doing more of the heavy lifts.
Yeah. Okay. And volume wise, like, because you guys, you were doing like the basics, right? The bench, squat, deadlift, or whatever. Do you do like dumbbell stuff or something, or what do you add now to your routine?
Yeah, I don't do too much dumbbell stuff at the moment. I'm in a sort of really specific program. It's mainly it's mainly, I mean, for the like isolation movements, the smaller muscle groups, like biceps, triceps, that kind of stuff, lunges, I use dumbbells, but the main bulk of my workout is typically barbell at the moment, just for the load, being able to use that load, and it's paying off. I'm getting stronger. It's going in the right direction.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, the first week was me, I was naked just to get back and work, like doing like almost nothing, or like 50%, like out of 15% what we usually do in the gym, and then go to 100, like just waking up at 5, go there at 6, and then just try to even do the same what I did in lockdown. It was like, whew, it's hard. But the second week was a little better, and then like third week I'm like completely back. But just standing for like 10 hours a day was like brutal. Yeah. My feet was just like super heavy in the first week.
But you sleep well. You sleep well.
Yeah, I've been sleeping better as well, definitely. Yeah.
You just sit down, just bang, you're out.
Yeah, exactly.
My steps have gone up massively as well. Yeah, I think because I was you know, I stuck all that weight on during lockdown on purpose, but, you know, I stuck a lot of weight on, and my steps were probably at like 3K a day. Plus I was doing no cycling. Now I'm doing half an hour a day of cycling, which is, you know, relatively hilly, quite relatively difficult cycling. Plus I'm heavy as hell. Plus I'm doing, you know, 10 to 15K steps a day in general. Like my expenditure's just gone through the fucking roof. So like my body weight is dropping down quite quickly now. So like I'm cutting again for this comp, and like I'm almost going a little bit quicker than I thought I was. So I almost can bring my calories back up, because the expenditure that you have just by being up, standing, walking around all day, plus training, plus moving all your clients' weights around and all that kind of stuff, it's a lot of movement.
What is the biggest mistakes you see in the gym when now you just go back and then see people coming back? What's the biggest mistake to see they doing?
Gus, do you want to go?
It depends though. I feel like typically they're just making the same mistakes they were making before. You know, it's often poor form, poor programming, no real goal, intensity over everything. That's the main problems. Like it's not like there's a particularly new ones. It's good to see people back in, although sort of sporadically, sort of not consistently seeing people. But apart from the odds. But that's the main thing. You know, most people don't follow my plan, so they don't really know. Like if you went up to most people in the gym and you're like, what did you do on the lift they're currently doing? You say you see them doing a lift. You're like, what did you do on that lift last time? They'd be like, I don't know, whatever was heavy.
It's kind of like training without a purpose. I was just writing this script for the new video. I want to make like gym mistakes and stuff, like beginners too. And I was thinking about a lot, and there's a lot of people just, you know, training like without any purpose. And then it's not just their workout is without any purpose, but their exercises, what they do, it's just they don't know why they do it. So I would just want to do like, you know, form check and stuff like this in this video. And then we see this all the time when they do the muscle up pull down, when they pull it down and they go in too low, this turns out like a muscle up. So it's obviously they're not working on their back, which is like a pull down exercise. It would be like engaging the back and everything. And if you ask them, it's like, do you feel your back? Like they don't even know. They just have to bring the bar from here. I don't know if you see the camera, from like here, and they have to bring it down to under my chest, or I don't know what they think of. And then it doesn't matter how they move it down. They just have to go through the motion, and then that's it. And it's such a big mistake to make, like training without a purpose. Like as I always say, if someone buys my program or even write a workout for someone, you know, I always tell them, like, if the bend over row doesn't work for you, I don't know, with the barbell, but you feel your back on the dumbbell, just do it with the dumbbell or use the machine, whatever makes your back, your body feels that exercise. Just do that. You know, it's like, it's not like
this is where Gus and I disagree a bit, though. I think this is where, like, I know that, you know, Gus still does put some emphasis on this, but I like to put quite a lot of emphasis on mind-muscle connection, and Gus is more like, always, can we just, as long as your technique is proficient, can we just increase the weight? And like sometimes to correct me if I'm wrong, tell me what you think.
Like you're telling me, yank the barbell.
No, I'm not saying, no, because I said with proficient form, with good technique. I'm not saying fuck it up and doing it badly. I'm saying that I find that typically you say, I'm like, oh, but I can feel the muscle, and you're like, who cares as much as it can I get it to move proficiently from A to B, kind of thing.
Maybe you're just not explaining it properly, like in a way that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, explain more. I'm asking you to explain how you think about it, because I know that we don't. I would
say, so my look would be, anyone could feel any weight, right? So if someone's doing sets of like 15 to 20 reps, you could feel that with a weight that is so far below any kind of training intensity that would cause adaptation, that load is, I put more of an emphasis on good form with load, as opposed to, like, I could do tricep push downs with 15 kilos and do that for 20 reps, super slow and controlled, 3 second eccentric, 3 second concentric, and feel it. I'm not going to adapt and grow from that. So my main principle is, yes, you need to feel it, but also you need to be providing enough mechanical stimulation in order to progress and build muscle and get stronger and all those benefits that come with it. So there's a lot of people that focus on, it's not that I disagree with mind muscle connection. I think that there needs to be, and that comes from the understanding of the form. So you know that you're using those muscles. But people who just use that, and that's a lot of people in the gym who just use like, I'm going to do this bench press until my chest fails. Yeah, well, they might be doing 40 kilos for 25 reps, and then they rest for a minute, which is nowhere near enough time to recover. And they do another 15 reps, and they're like, oh, yeah, this is how you grow your muscles. It's not really, because muscle is an adaptation. Yeah, so however you can, it's just like the analogy of PTs that you get a PT, you walk in, you've got a 45-minute session or whatever, they destroy you, you're doing like burpees, jumping squats, pull-ups, pull-downs, all supersetted together, jumping lunges, no focus on form, and you leave, you're like, wow, I did so much, I'm so tired. But you actually built almost nothing and probably sent yourself closer to an injury and a setback than actually progressing. And the problem with that is that when people look at PTs, they look at it like, unless I feel exhausted, I didn't get any workout from it. And it's not really about like, oh, I can really feel that muscle. It is in terms of if the load is sufficient, but it requires all those components to be on point as well. So you need load, rep range, intensity, connection, all of those things together, which makes it, rather than a lot of people just put that emphasis on, if I can feel it and I can do it super controlled, then I'm going to make progress. And it's just not the case. Maybe for enhanced individuals, but natural lifters, it's just, if the load isn't there, it's not going to happen.
Where I would say that I'm 90%, like 95% with you, I'd say, like where my emphasis maybe is slightly different is the bigger, more compound movements at the beginning of your session. Like, let's say you're doing a push session and you're working on your bench to start, as you most probably should do if you're trying to get stronger. My emphasis is always going to be, let's get you from point A to point B for the amount of reps that we're supposed to be doing and with as much weight as we can with proficient form. And then, we'll continue to do those heavy movements throughout the session. But maybe as we're getting closer to the end of the session, let's say in the last 10 minutes, maybe, 15 minutes, but mostly probably the last 10 minutes, I want them to maybe just feel contraction more and maybe not put so much emphasis on progressive overload, because I like to get some sarcoplasmic hypertrophy as well as myofibrillar hypertrophy. So if I can just get them to get a pump so they can feel, if they can feel that muscle at the end of the session, I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's improved their mind-muscle connection. And then next time when we come back to those heavier compound movements, they might be able to feel those muscles better because we spent a little bit more time trying to, focus on just connection more than like, let's increase the weight on it every single time. But the majority of the time I'm trying to increase weight. But like, a push session at the end on a tricep extension, I might do like a really horrendous drop set on the last set or two, just so that you can really feel the triceps. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and I would do the same in the sense of like, you can't just have the heaviest weight possible for every single exercise. Then your fatigue would just become too high. So I would agree that you could.
Yeah, so we're actually basically the same.
We're basically agreeing. You're just trying to paint me under a different brush.
Yeah, I think we a little bit diverge because like I think they are like, we talk about different levels, because those people who are doing the muscle up pull down or
yeah, they don't understand any of that shit. Yeah, for sure.
They don't. Yeah, like I think on that level they need to get the muscle connection first. So they don't understand the exercise. They don't know what they're doing. So what you guys talking about is someone who's already know the exercise and if someone already can bench press with a good form and doesn't feel the chest, this doesn't mean the chest is not growing. It's, it can do more like dumbbells or cable flies or something. You can engage a little bit, focus on more on the chest with the ball. But if you already can bench press, it's kind of like a full body exercise. It looks like a chest exercise on paper, but if you do it right, you're using leg drive, you get the glutes, your back is tight. It's like, it's really hard just to isolate something on the bench press. So if someone is already doing, like, as you said, 40 kilo for 15 reps, 1 minute break and going back, that's just the wrong usage of the good exercise, or doing for the wrong reason or whatever. For someone doing like a muscle up pull down, then that's they don't know, they don't have a connection with the back. So if you can do a bend over row, if you can do a bench press, you already know the exercise, and you already have on some kind of level that you could do it right if you can do it. But someone is just sitting down in the machine and then doing this like.
But then in that case, it's more for those really like newbie guys who really don't understand it at all. Then,
but you can see guys like
much mind muscle connection. It's more just exercise selection. Like it's like you're trying to focus on your back. Well, then let's do bent over row, dumbbell row, chin ups, lat pull down. All those kind of movements. And it's just more, to me, it's more about just let's see that they can do those exercises proficiently rather than actually getting them to feel it as much, because they're never going to be able to feel it if they can't do it proficiently first, if you know what I mean. Which I'm sure you're still, I'd imagine you agree with that. Maybe you don't.
No, I like them to feel it in the first time. So even if it's like a deadlift, and then just do it with the barbell, and then do like an RDL, like starting from the top and then go down, and then just put it down, and they don't feel the hamstring or even the back or something. So they just go through the motion, because I like them to grab the bar and go there very slowly, so know what we're doing and where you should feel it. Even like later on, the like next 2-3 years, you won't feel your hamstring on the deadlift or low back or whatever, because you use all your muscles together. At the beginning, when you with the first like even if the pull-up, when they do pull-ups, when they like, I don't know if you can see the camera, when you like they do this, basically they're doing like a fly on the bar. So they just engage their chest and the shoulder. I have clients who like, they come to me, I can do 6 pull-ups or 10 pull-ups, and they do them, all of them like this, and like 0 on the back. And I'm like, tell them to try to touch the bar with the chest, and they cannot do 1. And then I try to like, turn their like scapula or the shoulder blades together, or do like lighter variation, something so they can feel the muscle what they should work on, and then build it down to an easier variation, and then build back up. Because they've been just doing it wrong for eternity, like whatever, years maybe. You can see those guys who like in lat pull down, especially like, I don't know, older ones, even younger ones. You even go them and try to correct them, and they just get insulted, like, oh, I know how to do it, and then you don't know how to do it. It's like,
they might know the correct form, but I mean, lat pull down is a great example. The reason it's so prolific is that with bad form, you can lift probably double the weight.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm the man, and then someone comes up to you and goes, oh, maybe try like look up, push your chest up, keep contact with the cushions with your stomach, and pull down. And they're like, oh, I don't know, I can only lift 10 water. I don't want to do that.
I remember my first year of training ever, I got to 100 kilo lat pull down, and I was like, I'm a monster. And then like, I don't even want to imagine what I looked like, because I remember doing 100 kilos again like a couple of years later, and I was like, that's fucking horrendous, but I was doing it properly. So I was like, I probably wasn't getting full range of motion. I was utilizing the wrong musculature, all that kind of stuff. But I think we're slightly different here, where I do think that, I think that as long as you're doing it proficiently, let's keep on the example of the pull down. Let's say you learn how to, depress your scapula, bring your chest up, and when you're going into your pull down, you're managing to make contact of the bar into the chest on the pull down. I think if you're doing that in the, 10 to 12 rep range, even if I'm going like focus on the contraction or whatever, you're probably still going to feel your lats if you are doing it properly. I don't feel like you necessarily need to put an emphasis on the contraction on that kind of movement, because by its very nature, your lats are going to get lit up if you're doing it proficiently.
Yeah. That's why we talk about the bench press as well. If you can bench press properly, you might not feel your chest, but it first is going to grow if you always overload. But you might be like a tricep dominant or shoulder dominant. So, bench presses might not be the best exercise for you to grow your chest, or feel your chest, I would say. So it's going to be just a byproduct of putting on the weight on. But you're going to feel
silently disagreeing with you.
No, yeah. Like you might feel your chest better on the cable fly, which is like 10 kilos, but you can, bench press way more. But it's not something is the best exercise for your chest. Tell me, what's your opinion?
Well, if we're doing cable flies, I don't know what he said. I'm disagreeing with, but cable flies is one of my sort of bugbears of things I see in the gym. It's like people will start their workout with cable flies, and they're doing like 10 kilos. I mean, there's got to be an element of, you have to understand that intensity and load does play a large part in whether you will adapt and grow. So I'd say bench press will always be vastly superior to a cable fly. They just watch too many Machiavelli motivation videos, and they're just like, yeah, look at my chest as I do this.
Yeah, and that's what we talk about. They might feel it more because they pump blood in a joint. It might not even their chest. They might not just pump, into the joint, or they might feel the shoulders, and they just misfill it with their chest or whatever.
I think a lot of people get confused with lactic acid and contraction.
Exactly.
That's what I think the main problem is that people get that burning once, and they're like, that's how I build muscle. And that's not the same as contraction. That's like, it's exhausted. It's, you've
and
taken
it's also
it
equating DOMs to growth as well, which is like a very common misconception as well, is that DOMs is the absolute indicator for those who may be watching delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMs. So that soreness you get the next day, that people use that as a primary indicator of a successful workout. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, they are an indicator. They can be an indicator. They could even be a useful indicator. But are they the best indicator of growth and of improvement? No. Like, the greatest indicator of improvement is, were you able to proficiently move more reps, more sets, or more weight than the week before? That's improvement. Like, you being sore, it's great. Sure, like when you're starting out, if you feel sore, it's a good feeling to get, whatever, but it's not, you shouldn't be chasing DOMs all the time. It's not the best indicator.
It's only a really good indicator if your training consistency is high.
Yeah. Usually it comes when you're doing something new. You just try something new, and it's like you've never been in this range of motion or whatever. And then
you might be activating some musculature that you're not used to activating. So I found that I got that, for example, I was doing lat pull down for nearly, 8 months straight with just like a traditional lat pull down and just progressing rep sets and weight. And then I switched to a single arm kneeling, D handle pull down with, I don't know if you can see, with like that little bit of supination at the bottom. That one, the soreness in the lower lat that I was getting was like, oh shit, I haven't felt that in like probably a long time. So that can be an indicator of like, oh shit, maybe that's something new that I haven't been using. So it's definitely an indicator. I just think that people sometimes get the misconception that it is the best indicator.
Yeah. And also, like, you definitely cannot move the same weight, like, in a one arm cable pull down that you would do with the lat pull down as well. So it's you would use it as like a third exercise or something, I guess, or cycle it for a couple weeks, and then you go back to the main movements. And obviously the more angle, like, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's fairly true that the more angles you can train, the more muscle you can build or break down and then build it back up.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I would say that not necessarily the angles, but like taking the muscle through different ranges of motion, that can be a good way of like making sure that you're hitting every different level. So, a good example would be if you're working on biceps, doing 3 exercises, not necessarily all in the same day, but if you can do them all in the same day, great. Do a strict barbell curl or a strict easy bar curl, like standing, full range of motion, or like a hammer curl, full range of motion, whatever, and then go to like a reduced range of motion or an increased range of motion movement as well. So you could go like a concentration curl where you've got a really reduced range of motion, and then like Hercules curl or whatever where or an incline curl where the arm's way behind you, and then you're increasing the range of motion. That way, I know a lot of bodybuilders in the space who use that as kind of their mantra for making sure they're hitting everything. It's not necessarily angles, but making sure they're taking the muscle through every single different range of motion possible.
Yeah, that's what I meant by angle. Yeah.
Am I being super pedantic today? I feel like I'm being super pedantic. Just tell me to shut the fuck up if I'm being annoying.
Take it through full range, and then I think you can I mean, you can. I think there's a weird misconception as well. Like, let's take bench press as a good example. But there's that perpetual myth that if you do decline, you get a really big lower chest. You do incline, you're going to get a really big upper chest. And if you do flat, somewhere in the middle. Whereas in reality, it's all those movements work the entire chest. So it's like overall growth. Yes, you can put slightly more emphasis on others, but typically growth is going to be when you stimulate that muscle, it will stimulate the entirety of all those fibers within that muscle. He's gone.
We lost Charlie. Oh my.
He's gone. He's had enough.
Okay.
He didn't agree with that. He's like, no, I'm out.
Where you been, man?
Is that me?
Yeah, that was you.
Sorry, I never know if it's me dropping out or you guys. I'm like, what is happening with these guys? Fucking Wi-Fi. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Right. Yeah. I think we went through this. Like,
oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, if you bench pressing the right way, you kind of like you're trying to get into that decline position, right? You're trying to get your shoulder down and your chest up or whatever. Because that's the strongest position. Yeah.
It's just that like you have pec major, pec minor, and really like arguably sure the incline is going to put a lot more emphasis on pec minor. So yeah, you're going to get more activation of like that upper chest on an incline. But like the emphasis between a decline and a flat bench is going to be so minimal because you're mostly just using pec major. Like you're really not changing the musculature significantly enough for it to be noticeable. If anything, I'm not a massive fan of the decline bench because I do just think that more than anything, you're just reducing the range of motion of the movement and it just feels a little bit easier. So you can pump a little bit of the weight up and then you're like, I'm benching 140 and it's like, put it back on the flat, you might have 120, you know?
You just got to pray before you fall down into it and hope you don't die. And then it's easy. But with the incline to flat ratio, it's interesting because if you look in the research, it's like, some people say you hit the pec minor more on the incline. But then some people say if you're typically with most people, your flat bench, you can handle so much more load that they sort of even out in terms of, and you may even get more overall development from just doing flat. So it's an interesting sort of, I know bodybuilders swear by incline. Maybe not now, they've seen that guy tear.
Maybe not after Ryan Crowley.
Yeah.
After that video, no one swears by it anymore.
But it's one of those interesting ones where there's emphasis and then there's load. And they can easily cancel each other out and people can overcomplicate it.
Yeah, but also if someone is, for example, beginners who cannot lift that heavy, but they can do a lot of volume. Well, you can do a lot of exercise, I would say, in a training session, maybe for 2 sets, not like 3 or 4. But in that case, like you would just choose another exercise, Maybe not with the bench because it's obviously the beginners, but you can do like, I don't know, a push-up, a chest press, and some kind of bench variation, not in this order. But
you're saying if you can't feel the muscle, is that what you're saying?
No. If someone cannot lift that much weight, they could benefit from exercise. So that's like,
they can't handle the bar. Like it was too much for them to lift the bar itself.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have to regress it where you need to, basically.
Yeah. So they could do
that's something I do with, for example, like a lot of people who can't do dips, they can maybe do a few press ups. So for some of my clients who aren't quite managing dips yet, and even assisted, it's a real struggle. I'd rather go, okay, well, let's master press ups. Let's get you to be able to do like 15 to 20 press ups clean. And then let's move you on to dips. And then you'll probably be able to do a few dips if you can do like 15 clean press ups. Like you're probably going to be able to do a few dips. And then you can just increase the volume and intensity on those as well. So yeah, you can like switch it up. If there's ones that's too tough, sure, definitely change the exercise.
Yeah. Okay. Let's cover a lot. Okay. So what I want to do now, we're just going to run through the happening of the weeks in the fitness industry. What do you think, guys? And then we're just going to make some comments on it. So let me just share my screen and then.
I wouldn't actually be able to hear this time as well. My sound is so much better.
Okay.
On your new phone?
Yeah, I can actually hear it.
Okay. Let me know if you can see this news here.
Yeah.
Are we seeing this PureGym?
Yeah.
Brutal pandemic year, revenue fell by. So it's a big loss. Obviously, we talked about this a couple of times. They have 540 across Europe. And I think they do have a couple in America as well. I don't know if you heard it. But obviously, like, starting to open back up. Like, I think Scotland is reopened, and then Northern Ireland is in May. I think our numbers were like we have like 3,000 members now back, or 3,500 something. I don't know if you can confirm that, guys.
Brighton Central,
I think like 3,700 or something like that.
Yeah, which is good because we opened with 3,000, I think. So in 3 weeks' time, we like really ramp up like 20%.
And you got to think as well, we're a very much Group X based club. And we don't have any classes right now, so the studio's empty, and there's a lot of people that come to the gym specifically to do classes. So that might well ramp back up even more when, from May 17th, when the classes get reintroduced.
May 17th classes come back up, and then after that, I don't know if you can see this, but something again we talked about this, but there's like more research coming out. How many people became inactive during the lockdown, and how hard is to go back. I don't know, like we have like 20% growth in 3 weeks, but we're still far away from our maximum. Like, we usually have like 5,000-6,000 members, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people are still not back.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's underreported as well. I wouldn't. I mean, 710,000 in a overall population of 70 million or something like that in the UK. Is it somewhere around 70 mil? It might be a little bit less or more, but I feel like there's definitely more people than that who have done absolutely nothing over lockdown. So I may be wrong, but I feel like
filled out the questionnaires, which is like, I didn't get asked.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of my clients weren't asked. I'm sure there's lots of people that weren't asked whether or not.
Where did you get these statistics from?
you can see where they did the data from, but I think it's pretty close. What the number, or even underreported. So it's definitely gonna be a hard. But there is like a new incentive that they want to make people. And there's more data. I mean, they already knew this, but as more data comes out that the regular exercise could, prevent COVID.
They're a bit late though, aren't they? I mean, they demonized it throughout the first.
Weird that, the gym was hell, and now that it's being active and doing stuff is going to save your life. That's weird.
I remember the first lockdown where if you went outside to try and do a pull up anywhere, people had written in permanent marker all sorts of expletives about your character for trying to do that.
Yeah,
it was really frowned upon to do any form of exercise and to take any kind of care of your body that wasn't inside your home, even if you were miles away from anyone.
Exactly.
And now they're going, what was it? They said something like 9 out of 10 COVID deaths could have been prevented by regular exercise, and that's combating ability on obesity. Well, it's very convenient to come up with that now after we had the highest death rate for a long period of time, didn't we? Captain Hindsight in full swing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if prevention should be like number one.
But prehab is more important than rehab.
Yeah.
But they threw that out the window, and which is quite rightly many people are angry about.
They seem to at least be realizing it now, and I think that's the main thing. Is at least they're kind of being aware that it's fundamental that people get back to training for them to stay healthy and avoid significant symptoms if they do get it.
It was common knowledge, and I think they knew. They just, it was an easier way of controlling the population. Adherence to it, which you can kind of understand, but also like when it comes down to a matter of life and death, and the highest cause of mortality being obesity, it's a very large call they made.
Yeah, but it's also there's the same with food as well. Like it's easier to keep people obese, keeping cheap food and then McDonald's and everything. but then sell them the diabetics and everything, all the medication they need.
Exactly.
Rather than like, okay, don't eat fucking McDonald's, go move a little bit, and you're not gonna be diabetic or obese, and everything else that comes with it.
They got people policing each other. You know, that's what they got at the beginning of the lockdowns. We forget about it, but it wasn't long ago. We're looking like 8 months ago. You had people shouting at people. If you were running outside, people come out of their house and shout at you. It was, you know, it was a real dark time.
Well, I can't remember. There was a comedian who was talking about this. I can't remember which comedian who was saying it, but I think it was an American comedian who was saying that this is one of the only times in history, really, where those people who have essentially never had a say or any power over anyone else suddenly had power over other people by being able to dictate their behavior and chastising them if they weren't following what they believed were appropriate guidelines.
Terrible. And lots of abuses of power, and people feeling like, you know, they can use the pandemic as a way to impose their sort of like infallible control.
And then here in the study, it just showed that they're recommending 12-week physical activity program before vaccination, which could result 25%. I would say, like, you know, I don't want to be like an anti-vaccine, but you might not need a vaccination if you're fit enough, you know, especially if you're young.
That might have been useful for all the people getting the vaccine ages ago, all the most vulnerable people. But so it's come out now. We're at like 40 years old. So it's wonderful. Thank you for that piece of information. Did you know being physically healthy and eating well could mean that when you get a pathogen inside you, you fight it off better? Breaking science.
It reminds me of it reminds me a little bit. I mean, this may be a little bit off, but it reminds me of you know, Dr. Stuart McGill, the knee and spine specialist, and the studies that he did, where he basically, and I'm sure you guys know about these studies, but where in one of the studies he did, he realized that the rehab was just as effective if you didn't do the surgery and you just did the rehab work. And it's kind of like what it's saying here is kind of like, if you get fit, then you'll be more likely to be immune or, you know, not be sick. And it's like, well, obviously. Why wasn't that the message from the get-go?
Try being a salubrious individual and you will be healthy.
Okay, speaking of health, there is a new study came out here that antihistamines can block full benefits of exercise. It probably could, like, it's not in the big surprise.
I mean, that's kind of common knowledge in the same sense as that's the big fight against icing, you know. And it's people use examples of sports with icing incorrectly. Like they're like, oh well, this strongman does it. You're like, yeah, because they're competing later in the day or they're competing tomorrow. But if you cancel out, like, in order to build muscle, there's an inflammatory response to anything where change is occurring. If you prevent that, then
I may be talking out of my arse here, but I think I have seen some research around antihistamines as well, and there's an element of blood flow. I think there may also be an element of androgen receptor downregulation as well with antihistamines. I think that might be one of the elements of why.
Even worse.
So I mean, that's not
this is gonna be your study, man. It's like pharmacological, so you have.
This is your wheelhouse.
This is my stuff. You know that meme where there's the guy and there's all the numbers coming up? That's me whenever I'm seeing a pharmacological study. I love it.
So there's all this determination effects of H1-HT blockade and functional outcomes were caused by impaired adaptation of the key regulatory proteins, illustrating the integrative role of H1-HT receptors in meditative stress response. So it's like hay fever season.
That one, didn't I?
Hay fever season. So I don't know, what would you suggest? Taking antihistamine or train harder?
I mean, medical
it's probably not going to be as noticeable as you know. This is a little bit clickbaity. I think. How is it? Is it really going to fuck it up? You know, 35% or whatever. I'm very just quickly reading through there. Reduce normal increases in blood flow to the muscle by 35%. Are you, by taking an antihistamine, you know, if you can bench 140, suddenly not going to be able to bench, you know, 100 kilos or, you know, 105? I don't know.
No. I think it's only like cardiovascular.
Oh, is it cardiovascular exercise?
trainer.
Yeah, I mean, again,
I
it's
don't think
probably not going to be as significant as they think. It could be a little bit, but it's all just a question of priorities. Are you feeling absolutely terrible from your hay fever and you can't breathe and whatever? Yeah, then it's just gonna have to be a thing that you're gonna have to take on the chin and take the antihistamines until it passes.
Yeah.
But if you can get through it and you got a bit of a runny nose, yeah, maybe get over it and train as usual.
Yeah, same principle as those people that constantly take ibuprofen whenever they get any kind of pain whatsoever. It's don't abuse it or mask symptoms just for convenience, because ultimately that's what conspiracy of Big Pharma want you to do.
Okay, and then look at these guys. Speaking about outdoor training, PTs in Lancashire to be forced to pay Levi. They use parks for training sessions.
Well, they tried to do that. They tried to do that here, and it was the Green Party that tried to do that here, which I thought was hilarious. They closed everyone's place where they make any money, and they were like, "Yeah, they're bloody using the ground." Yeah, you closed our workplace. You closed it. You physically said it was illegal for us to work. So yes, we used the outside. Now, when it comes to people now who've built like a massive business outside, in terms of they bring like a whole rig. There are a few people like driving trucks and things like that. Now that the gyms are open and there's availability there, they should ask to charge a certain amount.
And also, if they're doing like, I've seen a lot of people who are massively into group training, and they've got like 25 to 30 people in the park. I would probably get like a small fee, but a fee, because it is like, come on, like you're taking up a significant portion of the park. While you having, if it's like one-to-one, or even like a group of 5 or whatever, you shouldn't really have to.
Yeah. Again, it depends. It depends where you are as well. I mean, like on the seafront is where they were trying to target it, and it's like almost endless space down there in terms of the greens.
Yeah.
It was more the trucks and things like were causing damage or whatever. But like, I think when your literal place of employment is closed, I think that's you can't do anything like that.
Yeah.
That was part. I think that was all part of the thing of like hating anyone who did exercise, because that was still sort of around that era where they were like, "Yo, super spreaders, all of you breathers."
Yeah.
Okay, that's about it. I hope they're not gonna do it here. Well, yeah, it's not like really harsh, but they said like who deliver sessions to 12 or less participants, and each sessions can only last for maximum 60 minutes. So, that's fair enough.
Does feel a little bit fascist, but it's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. Speaking about fascist, he's Mark Wahlberg.
Is Mark Wahlberg a fascist? Oh my god!
Wait,
I didn't know.
He has a questionable past.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to call it, but power plate, which he has been in the gym. And I don't know if you saw my power plate video for almost 3 years ago. That's my best viewed video on YouTube. Just had like 50K. Whatever.
Wow.
And then this guy is now
a
come
power
on.
plate
ambassador. Look at this.
He doesn't use a power plate.
He's never used a power plate in his life.
Yeah, he did, man. He does use power plate. I don't know if you saw his like celebrity videos.
Come on.
Which I don't understand. Who believes
I'm pretty sure it's mostly the TRT that's doing
gets
that,
gets his physique from power plate. It's just so stupid, man. And then you should see, man, the comment section under my power plate video is mental, man. They just like they are like, is this good for lymphomic disease? Is it really good for, I don't know, arthritis? Is this really so like the people like power plate? Is either the company or whoever does, they try to promote that is good for everything. And it's like in my video, I'll tell in the video that don't sit on a power plate, don't stand with straight knee, because the vibration just go through to your organs in your brain, and then you're gonna feel sick, or you can damage your organs and everything. Like that's why pregnant women, or you have plates, or like what is the heartbeat monitor? Pacemaker you have or something, you cannot use those because they can throw those out. And or if you have like a retina issue, you can go blind. And then these people are just sitting and doing abs on it, and they're just laying down. You can see those, you know, sometimes people are just standing on it with straight leg. And they're just completely shaking their head, and they're like, and then they just like,
Great
say,
workout.
what are you doing? So I say it in a video that don't do this, and then the people like attacking me, like, why are you saying bullshit? I said, man, it's in the power plate manual. Like, what are you talking about?
If they're saying it, I can probably say it.
You got to lock all your joints and just jump on it.
Yeah. So I was like, and I said it in video, like, you know, it's good a couple leg exercises, but it's not the best for upper body, because, you know, you can do like an isometric squat, a couple squats. It's good for injury, mobility back if you're like really injured, you know. Or as I say in the video, it's been invented for like astronauts who are coming back from the zero gravity, and then the bones are like, you know, they don't have any bone density or muscle mass, and they want to get their back, and then some stability exercises, things like that. But you're not, and they're like, bro, just try to do some push-ups on it with the 50-kilo plate on your back, and you're gonna feel it. I said, what are you talking about? Like, do bench press. So like, why you have to use like, it's not a magic machine. They just try to sell this like it's good for what it is, but it's nothing more. You know, it's
I don't think I've used it ever with a client. I think that like I just can think of easier, better exercise. Like, let's say someone's got a bad joint issue or whatever, and their knees hurt or whatever. Do a body weight split squat. You know, do a raised leg body weight split squat. Something like literally use some assistance. Do whatever. But I just don't know how. Personally, I can't see how the power plate has ever been a significant element of someone's physical improvement. You know, like it's just like, I'm pretty sure, come on, Mark, you know, when you're in pain and gain, was it the power plate or was it the D-ball? Which one was it, Mark? I'm pretty sure when you got absolutely huge in pain and gain, it was probably the DRT and the, you know, extra bits as far as, you know, pharmacologically. Plus, obviously, training hard and heavy. Like, I saw he was carrying.
Are they saying is that what they're saying? It put 56 pounds of muscle using the power plate. Is that what that's saying?
Enable him to play specific. Yeah, just well known for undertaking physical to enable him to play. No, he's just saying he's stuck on the weight.
I was like, well, that's a claim and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
I think it's mainly useful for like really bad arthritis. I had a friend at school who had like arthritis, genetic arthritis to a crazy level when he was like 18. He couldn't do any form of exercise without risk of, he basically had brittle bone disease as well in a sense. And they had a power plate in their house because they needed to be able to stimulate the muscles and bones in some way which put the minimum amount of impact on them. That's the only time I've really heard its use. But for generic people, it's a bit like standing on a BOSU ball doing a squat. It's like, all right, mate, nice one.
Yeah, like, you know, I like it what it is. Injury, like, injured, when you're injured, I think it's great to like really, you know, activate some, you know, bone density, muscle fiber, whatever. So you can do whatever, at least some kind of minimum exercise. And then if you can do those, then go and lift weights or even do body weight exercises. Or if you're an astronaut and you're coming back from zero gravity,
what percentage of the population is in that case? You know, like, I just feel like that's such a rarity. You know, like, I'm sure there's a 1% or like maybe a 2 or 3%, but I just don't feel like the vast majority probably don't need it.
Yeah, it's just another case of commodification, really, isn't it? It's like it's got a good purpose and it can help some people that really need it, and they're like, yeah, but I would like everyone to have it in their house because then we make more money.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, same as the Peloton things.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this a bit of a Peloton situation where they're trying to, you know, big it up so that it's
but now you're going to go this.
Oh,
hotel rooms. You got like special rooms now. Launch the new room
luxury
category.
hotel room.
What's in it? I want to know what's in it.
A bike.
Guest room. You train.
Not enough.
Bike.
It's got a comfy seat.
Equipped with the Techno Gym bike, and technical case, and will offer guests providing catering and sustainable preference.
If Les Mills is in the cupboard, then I'm going.
Like a pump wreck. There you go.
Just can't escape Les Mills. I would
He
just
literally. Is it a he or a she? It's a he, isn't it?
I think so.
Les Mills.
Les Mills. It's a guy, right? He leaps out the cupboard and just starts doing a class for you. His hologram, like last time, his hologram comes out the cupboard.
Yeah.
And then he finishes his session. He's like, right, jump on the Peloton bike. Let's go.
That's what they give you, man. They give you foam roller, massage ball, exercise mat, loop band, and the library of training videos. There you go.
I can't go anywhere without my loop bands.
Yeah.
What you can basically almost take these alls with you when you go anywhere.
Oh, God.
With the
I feel
QR
like
code.
just about the only useful thing there is a bike. I mean, it's really the foam roller going to be the main thing that you're going to need when you're in that room.
I need to do that to be able to move. I foam roll for 15 minutes and then I can get on the bike.
Oh, God.
There you go.
Perfect.
Yes, we
workout.
stay
That's
Perfect workout.
and to implement the perfect workout.
Sounds like another great step towards no one ever talking to each other again.
Who needs muscle mass? Let's just do cardio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
forever.
I don't need to be able to hold my own body up. I've got a bike.
Down and move my legs around.
Yeah.
Well, now you have a new gym of robots.
Oh, God. Here we go.
That's
I
Every
guess
time we
it's
do this,
rolling.
it depresses the hell out of me.
I guess
it's
it's
a
a
play on
rolling
words
gym.
in terms of rowing with robots.
So there's a new one opening in London.
Gareth Bale.
Yeah, the footballer,
Yes.
Gareth Bale.
star footballer.
He's an expert.
17th of May. So that's where our classes are back. I guess it's like a group rowing or something. I don't know. And then you have like some body weight. You get some dumbbells here, and
Yeah,
looks
that's
like
all right.
that's about it.
What's the special thing? What's the special thing about it? Is it like a robot
Is it?
as
It's
well?
all road.
Is there any sort of mechanical robot thing involved in it?
No, it's a row. So you're rowing.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, it seems like you're just on a rower in a gym, really.
Yeah, robots implies that it's a play on words. There's going to be some kind of sort of like AI involved in it.
Yeah.
If I'm just rowing and then doing some dumbbells, which isn't a bad workout at all.
Yeah.
But I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I wanted there to be like a cyborg that comes out and like makes you challenge each other to a duel
like,
if someone loses.
Train harder.
Yeah, like Red Steel. You get to the harder you row, the better your robot fights.
That would be great.
I'd go there every day.
It does sound fun. You'd be so skinny, just like rowing every day, just like 6K a day. Like, come on!
No. What do they say? They say, what's the great fallacy they say? No, if you put the rowing machine on 10, you build loads of upper body mass.
The best one.
Yeah, I think that's it, guy. Oh yeah, there's one more. I think this is another acquisition. I never heard this.
Oh,
Do you know this?
I've heard of this. Yeah, I've heard of this.
Yeah, Barcode.
Yeah.
Barrecore. Yeah, it's another acquisition. So
It's basically kind of like ballet, like where you're hanging on to the bar and then doing like exercises. Yeah.
Oh.
They've not done a very good picture. That just looks like a lady doing a lunge with her hands in the air.
Yeah.
That's a fucking plie. Yeah, I don't know never heard it, but I guess it's yeah.
It feels like it's a lot of companies now just acquiring other companies, and
Yeah, we talked about this last week. Remember, like, as the pandemic, like a lot of gyms going bankrupt.
yeah.
The big gyms buying them up, and then we're gonna end up with PureGym and The Gym, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fuck knows what happens if one of those goes down, though, because there will just be a millions of individuals who don't have a gym to go to then.
Yeah.
Now, remember there was like 2 years ago, there was a talk that they're gonna merge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember hearing that. But what is that not kind of like the Marilyn Manson rumors, and it's just absolute nonsense?
It could be. But it's I think it comes from one of our old GM because we have like hundreds now.
Oh, yeah.
But she said when Marta was there, she said they were like talking, in like the big bosses, they were talking that they might merge or something. Which is yeah.
Well, that would be, there would literally, what would there be left? There would be PureGym and what, David Lloyd, which caters to a very different audience, I suppose.
Because there's not much difference between the gym and PureGym. It's exactly the same model.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, it's basically the same.
You have everything's the same, so it would make sense to be just one if they want to make more money, I guess. But
yeah, they're exactly the same model.
it's very, very similar. I don't know. Yeah, for customer perspective, I think it's the same. I don't think there's any difference.
I guess there's fitness first as well, which is kind of big. That's quite.
They're struggling though. Apparently, they're really struggling.
Struggling very hard. Yeah.
Oh really?
A lot of branches closing. Yeah, a lot of people let
I
go.
didn't know
So,
that.
yeah, it's unfortunate for them. Yeah, it's not going well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you got to remember, our PureGym used to be a fitness first.
No, it was an LA Fitness.
Oh,
LA
yeah, that's
Fitness.
it. Yeah, wrong one.
LA Fitness.
Damn it.
Point
LA
was
Fitness
not
gone back.
made there.
I was like, that's exactly what happened.
I love that you said you got to remember that our gym used to, and before you even said, Kogo was like,
No, wrong. Incorrect. Previous
No,
point
it's
still
up in the
stands.
corner. But I don't know if they're back already. Are they back? I never heard anyone.
I went to Fitness First the other day actually. Yeah, they're still
Yeah.
open. It did feel a little bit dead in there, to be honest. So maybe there's some truth to what you guys are saying there as far as closures. It did feel a bit dead. I mean, obviously gyms do feel dead sometimes, but it certainly was not very busy in there.
Yeah, I remember like when we first reopened again, then they said like it's super dead. Is Vitor still there or no?
Vitor's not there.
I think he's gone back, isn't he?
Say again?
I don't
I think
think
he's
so.
gone back there. I think I saw it. Well, I saw somewhere of him working in somewhere with lots of red equipment.
You sure that wasn't the Phoenix gym that he was training in?
That's
He
correct.
seemed to be PTing. He seemed to be like in his like fitness first uniform. But then again, I'm not sure. It all blurs into one on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be like an old video or something. Like,
Yeah, you never know the timeline that people will post things. So
Yeah, I know they struggle a lot. So they already struggled back then. So I don't know if they, probably one I guess is gonna survive. But it's an Australian brand now, or is it? It's not British. Is it English?
Fitness First.
Yeah.
Well, I've been to a Fitness First in Canada, so I know it's a pretty international brand. I don't know if it's the same thing, but it was definitely like same branding, same colors and everything, same name in Canada. So I think it's probably the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. And how's your clients doing? Let's catch up a little bit with the general population. I think we went a little bit too specific. Are your clients are back? How do you see business?
yeah, most of them are back. There's still a few people that aren't coming back until everything opens up, which is that May 17th. Yeah, so I've got a few people coming back from May 17th. They're still either working, looking after places, that kind of stuff, or getting ready to start working. So there's a lot of build up to that. But the rest are back. Yeah.
I mean, I've actually, unfortunately, my hours are doing great. I mean, I've lost a couple of hours since last lockdown, but nothing significant. So I'm not doing terribly at all. But I did actually have 2 people that lost their jobs. Obviously, don't need to go into specifics there, but people who lost their jobs because of closures over lockdown, because their offices or whatever were closed, and not like the company went down, which is it's terrible. But like this is kind of it's inevitable when you lock a country down and you completely stop basically all business.
Yeah,
that's kind of inevitable in some cases, unless there's like the business is doing great or you're self-employed or whatever, and you can kind of manage to do it by yourself. These things happen. This is, I don't think it's talked about that much, but like this is an inevitable consequence of locking down the country. Is there's going to be a lot of job losses, and that's what happens with job loss. You then potentially can't find a job. Then you have the mental health issues that go with that and all that kind of stuff. And the government never mentioned that, and that is it's real. That's definitely happening for people. So I mean, I personally, my clients are doing great. They're kind of mostly all back to work, back in the gym training, and you know, everyone was a bit sore on the first week or whatever, but they're kind of pretty much back to normal now. But yeah, a couple people actually not doing so great. So it's quite sad what's happened since last year.
Yeah, I think that's sadly a very common theme.
Yeah.
Say again. What did you say?
That's a very common theme. That exactly what you just said. Like, you know, there was a lot of people had no help whatsoever. You know.
Yeah.
It's never a viable solution to prevent people from working without a clear time frame of when they can come back. They can't manage their finances. They can't manage their employees. They can't, you know, their infrastructure, the buildings, their property, all that kind of stuff. It's
and even the hospitality industry the hospitality industry is struggling as well right now, like massively, because you know that they say in general that a lot of restaurants, places like that, are about a couple months, you know, 2-3 months away from going bankrupt all the time, because they function on constant cash flow, and a lot of places haven't had that. So you know, just for that reason, how many restaurants do you see in Brighton that closed down over the last year? It's awful, really bad, really bad.
It's going to be PureGym, The Gym, McDonald's, Burger King. That's the only place.
Those are going to be the companies that are left. Oh God,
it's funny, but also a possibility.
Yeah.
You know,
oh God, please don't end the fucking podcast on this note. I'm going to bloody kill myself.
Well, and then you just what? You just eat a lot of like hamburgers, and you go to the gym to try to work it out or work it off, or what?
Yeah, just get super swole.
Yeah. You have McDonald's. You have only bacon double cheeseburgers. You never go to the toilet, so they remove toilets because you don't need toilets anymore because you only have bacon double cheeseburgers.
Yeah, it just comes through your skin.
Yeah, it just pours out of like oil. Like oil comes out of your face, and then you train really hard. So it smells kind of like rancid and oily in the gyms, but you got to just get it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we all know those you know, those guys who will like just go in and eat fucking burgers all day, and they just smash gym and they look like a god. So there's always one or two. There's always someone like that. So like, if you go for anecdotes, then there you go.
There's always that outlier.
Well, once something works for someone doesn't mean it works for everyone. That's a great example. Speaking of nutrition or recovery, how do you guys plan, if you plan your recovery, and how do you do it with your clients? Always, you are like a more advanced athlete, someone is a beginner. Do you plan recovery weeks, sessions? I don't know, any tools in programming wise? Probably not deload because of the beginners, but yeah, anything on touching on some recovery or nutrition?
Do you want to go first?
You go. Go on, let's mix it up.
So I used to implement deloads, I think, too often. So that was something.
Bacon double gym burger.
Yes. Yes, Alex.
Yeah, shout out to Alex.
Yeah, I used to implement deloads, I think, too often, and I think it's an issue when you really like sticking to programming, is that you want to, you know, you have like that 6-week training block and you're like, no matter what, I've got that deload at the end. And I think sometimes you'll get to that end of the 6 weeks and it's like there's more in the tank and you can keep pushing. And, you know, so I don't always think that a deload implemented specifically every 4 to 6 weeks is the best option for everyone. You know, if we're talking about newbies, you can probably go months without ever deloading because they're just keep on gaining and gaining and gaining. But I think, yeah, I will implement deloads for some of my more advanced guys every, you know, 7 or 8 weeks, maybe, depending on how they feel, depending on if they're really getting plateaus in their programming and they need to take a week of lowered intensity or volume or whatever. But I think a lot of that can be managed through just your programming in general. So, you know, for some of the guys who are training really, really hard, one of the options I might have is 2 of their sessions in the week will be without a belt, for example. So that's going to limit how heavy they can go, and then therefore I'm going to program lighter weights. So not necessarily conjugate like speed work or whatever, but they're going to have 2 heavier days and then 2 days which are, you know, specific training still. They're going to be potentially lighter and beltless or whatever. So that would be a way. And also just, you know, having days where you're not training, have programming into their week 2 to 3 days where they're not training. That can manage a lot of the fatigue. Like, obviously, I think for most people, training 3-4 days in a row is just not viable. And that's why I very, very, very rarely will have in people's programming like 4 days in a row of training.
Stretching, foam rolling, ice bath, hot bath.
I would actually say not necessarily any kind of tools. I would say sometimes you can maybe implement like one of those massage guns or something like that. They can be useful. I do typically find that movement is going to be the key to fixing any pains or issues that you have. So I was mentioning McGill. You know, the McGill Big 3 is one that if someone's feeling sore and they're feeling tight, well, do the McGill Big 3. Do it a couple times a day. It's very low impact. It's not very difficult, but it's really going to just get everything moving, get some blood flow back into those areas again. And that's going to help massively for recovery just by moving around a bit. So that can be used as an injury prevention or an injury rehab tool, but it can also just be used as a tool to get blood flow back to problematic areas.
Yes.
I think spacing muscle groups out. So typically you'll see the best results. If we're talking generically, hitting something twice a week, space those out so that people have enough time to recover. Implementing exercises that aren't going to fatigue other exercises during that session so you can get the most benefit out of it. Not really focusing on things like too much like ice baths, foam rolling. I think people put way too much emphasis on that whilst not tracking their calories, not getting enough sleep, and not being consistent. It's like 95% of people don't do that. And they're like, oh, I should have had an ice bath. Or like, oh, I go see the physio every day. Like, okay, but you know, sleep more, eat the right amount of food, know what your macros are, train consistently. Yeah, blood flow, great, especially if you've got a little niggle or injury or things like that. Get the body moving, go through full range of motion so that everything, you can have full access to the capacity of your body. Yeah, don't get bogged down with all the finite details. You need to get the big stuff, the compounds of recovery in first.
And then he's got a little tagline in there.
Nice.
And then
that's good. I completely agree though. Yeah, he's 100% right. Like, just if your sleep is right, if you're resting enough, you're grouping your exercise selection correctly and your muscles correctly, that you should mostly be fine. Now, if you have a niggle or whatever, you can utilize some of the techniques I was using, like the McGill Big 3 can be useful. But overall, if you're sleeping properly, eating properly, you're going to probably be fine 90% of the time. But most people aren't getting those things right. So get that right first and then worry about all the other stuff. Maybe you can implement that other stuff. But if that's fixed, you'll probably be okay.
Yeah. Sleep is basically the main thing. You know, most people just screw up their sleep. You know, it's typically like social occasion, less sleep, work, want to stay up, want to enjoy themselves watching Netflix, blah, blah, blah,
or
blah.
Drinking as well. Yeah. Drinking significantly reduces like the quality of your sleep. Alcohol is not good for your sleep quality. And as like Britain is a country of people that drink a lot. And, you know, if you're having a few drinks and a night, not necessarily every night, but a couple times a week, there's a couple nights at least there where your sleep is not good. And then you're paying for that the rest of the week.
Yeah. Can't get into stage 4 sleep. You know, but people have the fallacy of the fact that if you drink, you do go to sleep quicker. But it's a light sleep. It's almost like day sleeping. You know, the analogy
or like sleeping pills. You know, sleeping pills. People are like, oh, I had a great sleep. And it's like, well, you're groggy because you never actually achieved a good quality sleep. Mm-hmm. You just knocked yourself out.
Yeah, it's that kind of principle of what is it? 2 hours in the day is equivalent to 1 hour at night. Mm-hmm. You know, of sleep. It's that theory that there was some studies around shift work and why it's so tiring and so damaging to the body of working like night shifts. And the very worst group was like people that would work day shifts, mid shift, night shift, and it would change throughout. I can't remember the exact thing, but it was something to do with like sleeping at night in the correct circadian rhythm was equivalent to 2 hours of sleep in the daytime.
Well, I think I saw that as
midnight.
well, as far as sleeping between 9 and midnight, so 9 p.m. and midnight. Those hours before midnight are more important than any of the other hours. So if you can get an hour in before midnight, like let's say you go to sleep at 11, I think that clocks in kind of for the body is more like 2 hours as far as actual restful sleep that you're getting. So this is why those people that are going to bed at midnight, 1 a.m. are going to, even if they're getting up at 9 a.m., are probably going to have less quality sleep than they would if they'd gone to bed at 10 or something.
Although when it's that, I mean, that's one of those things which is like we're going into the finite details of that.
Yeah, we're going very much into the
finite details. Not to put people off because it gets more complicated. Because I think sleep is biphasic, so you can get your 8 hours in 2 sleeping sessions. Like you can have like a nap and sleep and have pretty good health benefits. I think just if you're going for perfection, you would sleep like that sort of time period, and you'd get it at night if you could. But obviously, like everyone's life is different, and it's not gonna make a drastic difference if you're still getting your 8 hours. You are getting sufficient calories in. You're consistent, that kind of thing. Not to get people, not to overwhelm people there.
Yeah. That's the one I know is like around something around midnight. So if you have to go to bed at midnight to have a good rest sleep, so a lot of study, something with midnight in it, or just,
there's something with midnight in it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that of like the sleep before midnight is doubly valuable
before midnight.
What we're saying is if you don't go to bed 9 p.m. until 6 a.m., you will not be able to gain mass. So
exactly.
keep exactly those
just
hours.
Go to bed at 1 p.m. and then you're all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar what you see in the gyms as well in terms of what Gus said. Like people will try to find these recovery tools like ice baths and foam roller and power plate and everything, but they don't drink enough water, they don't eat, and they don't sleep enough.
Yeah.
And they do the same thing in the gym. Are you getting stronger? Is you perfecting your technique and on the lifting? Because they just try like how I don't know how much exactly protein I have to eat, which protein powder is the best, or which one is the best chest exercise, or how do I, is it drop set better or rest pause set, or double drop set or single drop set?
So many people, it's like what supplements are you taking? Like that's often one of those first questions you get from people when they're trying to like learn the secret. It's like, what supplements are you on? I'm like, I'm on that train for 10 years straight, consistently 4 times a week for over an hour. So that's what I'm on. I'm on that reverse iceberg. All the shit you can't see. Yeah.
I mean, it's sad because you think about teenagers now. You think about how many teenagers truly understand. I mean, we're not talking about like having a sort of like extensive dietetics knowledge, but like how many teenagers have consistently tracked their food and can give you, like, if you ask them like how much protein is in an egg, how many could tell you that, and how many of them have tried some sort of anabolic? There's a real disparity. They should be like tracking down here and like taking that leap after like you've reached your full genetic potential, but they just go like, supplements,
Well, they just go straight. A lot of these kids go straight to Psalms. They just go. They see safe. That as,
that's what the internet tells you. If you type it into Google, it's like they're safe.
Yeah. What do you think? How we could change this? Because obviously there's like the information is out there, but people, I guess, don't want to look for it, or it's harder to get good information because it's a mix. Yeah, tell me.
I think it's 2 really important things would be honesty with those that do take anabolics, and less of an obsession with like your own limitations. It's like everything's so ephemeral, right? So we're always looking for something sort of transient to progress through really quickly, and no one has any faith in their own potential. Everything's so negative, everything's so comparative to someone else that no one's like, okay, like 10 years time, I started training when I was 15. I'm 28 now. That's a long time. But everyone wants the same thing. They go like, oh, that's not achievable. This isn't achievable. That. There's so many negative. I don't know, for lack of a better term, glass ceilings for everyone that they've created now, right? And it's a real sad thing. It's no one believes they have any potential to be special in any way, whereas everyone has their own sort of genetic strengths and weaknesses. Charlie's got the traps of like a boulder, So everyone has their own
necessarily
things.
Large.
Yeah.
How many shrugs do you do?
None. Zero. I've never shrug. I've got fucking massive ones.
Yeah. It's such a shame that people just don't, like, how much people don't believe in themselves. And then fit shaming is a new thing, not to go off on a tangent, but believe that you can do something good. Yeah, and it will take time. Like anything, it will take time. But no one has any faith in themselves. They look at these guys who are influencers on Instagram, and they look great, and a lot of them are dishonest. And that is a massive part of the problem as well, because that causes that depression. But, believe that you can invest and you can get good, and you don't have to go down that route. But so many people, like, all they'll do is they'll see someone that's in vaguely good shape, and they'll be like, "Oh, genetics, I could never achieve that." It's like, well, you've never done anything.
Yeah. Can I just say here, so like, there's a great post, and I really strongly suggest anyone watching goes and has a look at it. Lane Norton, who I'm a big fan of, put a post up literally the last few days, and God, does it resonate with what we're talking about here. He said, everyone that saw me when I first started out trying to bodybuild when I was like 18, 19 years old told me to stop because I didn't have the genetics for it. But the issue is, you won't know until you've put in 2 decades of training maximally, as hard as you can, with everything perfect, with no promise of a positive outcome, and you won't know. Like, you will have no promise. There is no promise that, like, I unfortunately can't say to someone who's a 16-year-old kid, let's train for 10 years, let's train for a year even, and you're going to turn into, like a young Jay Cutler or whatever. Like, I can't promise you that. You have to put the work in. You have to work consistently for years and years and years. And you're the only one that can find out if you're able to do it. But you can only, this is the one. You're the only one who's able to find that out by putting that work in. So, I mean, do you want to read that out there, or shall I read it out? Because I think he says exactly what I'm saying there.
Yeah, go for it.
My genetics aren't good. My hormones. What about? Insert excuse. What could you do if you just committed to doing the work regardless of the outcome? These are pictures of me at 20 years old compared to 39. I had been training hard for almost 4 years in the pic on the left, but my legs still sucked despite crushing them every week. People in bodybuilding told me to give it up. You just don't have the genetics for it. It was hard to hear. I thought maybe I didn't have good leg genetics, but I also knew that I hadn't given everything, not yet. Maybe I had bad genetics, maybe I didn't, but I could not control that. All I could do was work my ass off for a long time and see what happened. I committed to a decade of work. I told myself, no matter how slow the progress was, I would do the work day in and day out.
There you go.
So, I mean, that's essentially, I mean, he goes on there for a while, but like, that's essentially what we're saying here is like, you won't know until you put the work in for a long time. And there's no one on earth, unless you have a significant genetic hormonal disorder, which is a very massive, a very rare case. Most people can look way better, way stronger, way bigger, way leaner, way better than they ever thought they could if they were just willing to put in time and effort. But most people don't. And it's a horrible truth to hear, because people don't want to hear that. They want to hear that you can do it quickly, but you can't. You have to fucking put the work in.
Yeah, you want to found people that are different to you or look better than you. You want to say that it's all because of their genetics and so and so. Like there's that thing where they explain to people the meanings of ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph, all of those kind of things, and they'd show a picture where like you couldn't really make out what their face was, or they cut off their heads. I can't remember what it was, and they'd be like, "What's that?" And they'd be like, "Oh, that person's a ectomorph." Blah 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 blah. So they're going to be lean and skinny and not have any muscle mass. And then they'd show another picture later on with the head removed, and they'd be like, "Oh, that guy's clearly a mesomorph." And then they would like reveal both, and it was the same person. They just trained, and it's people's perceptions change from like it's all their genetic like propensity for muscle, and that's the whole reason. From a minute ago being like, "Oh, that guy's never going to amount to where it is." It's all perception.
Yeah.
You know,
and even those body shapes in general as well. Like, let's go by those body shapes. Let's say you are an endomorph and you're a guy and you're like, "Oh, I'm not going to get shredded because I'm an endomorph." And it's like, it might be hard. Maybe it might be harder for you to get super lean, but you're gonna like naturally have like so much size on you that like it's a trade-off where like you're gonna be big and it might be a struggle to get that lean, but once you do, you might look amazing because you have loads of size on you. If you're, you know, an ectomorph, it might be a struggle for you to stick on size, but you're gonna be shredded year round. Like, so it's like a trade-off. Like, and also it's not always that clear, you know. Like people are like, am I an endomorph or mesomorph? It's like, you're a bit of everything, you know. There's no clear cut. You are this or that, you know.
And also, like, you know, like whatever you do, like if you just focus a little bit on training and eating healthy, sleeping enough, you're gonna look better than if you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not gonna look like a Mr. Olympia, because no one gonna will. Yeah? It's like if you compare yourself to the top 1% of the 1%, then yeah, it's just stupid. But even if you just, you know, if you do 10 push-ups every day, you're gonna look better if you wouldn't do 10 push-ups every day.
Yeah.
So if you just minimum effort you put in, you know, you're gonna look better than if you wouldn't do it. So why not just not do it? And obviously you don't have to be like crazy expectations, but anything is gonna be better than nothing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this should come down to education. So this should be like, you know, into the school program from young age. Teach people how to eat, how to choose their foods, how important sleeping is. I don't know how is it in this school because I didn't go to school in England, but you know, in America,
That's not in the curriculum. Definitely not in the curriculum.
Yeah, but like in America, it's a big problem that if you go to the canteen, like the only thing you can choose from is like pizza and hamburger, and then you have soda, and then you sugar drinks, and you don't have nothing else to choose from. And it's already starts there because big companies like McDonald's is in schools now, and you know, these kids just get used to eating fries and hamburgers from young age, and they don't even have much chance to choose anything else. Or if they have, it's either limited, like a salad or something, which just doesn't have any, you know, any nutrition in it, or it's just more expensive than the hamburger.
And they also get used to, by having those kind of meals, they get so used to hyper palatable meals that when you give them a carrot, they're like, oh, what is that? Because they're used to like the explosion of like flavorings, preservatives, and everything else that you're getting from typically more processed foods. So like, if instead you teach kids to, this is generally like a rule of thumb, if you were to teach kids how to eat properly, you know, day in and day out, 6 days of the week, or even 7 days of the week, but then you just give them a nice meal that's, you know, a little bit more of a cheat meal or whatever, they can enjoy that, they can appreciate it for what it is. But, you know, learning discipline, self-control, and what foods are going to be better for you long term, it's not a sexy lesson to learn, you know, but it's probably a necessary one.
I think it's sexy. But like, follow your point was good, Dogo. You know, your 1% thing. Like, how many people compare that? Like, when you drive, you're not like, oh man, I'm not the 1%. But we all compare ourselves to the 1% of the 1% online on fitness, like physiques wise. There's almost nothing else that's comparable with it. Maybe wealth, because that's kind of what social media is. It's sort of like wealth and physique. You know, it seems to be that, you know, like sex sells and money, and that seems to be the kind of debauched environment that's on there. But it's a weird one. Like, you don't really do that with anything else. That 1% sort of idea.
But people need to remember as well that, like, I think some people may see us three, and think that we think differently to them because, you know, we are in, you know, pretty good shape, or we got some size on us, or we're lean or whatever. But, you know, we still have the same thoughts that everyone else has as we look shit. We just may have a different comparison. Like, you know, like I literally had a guy come up to me today in the gym, and he was like, you're pressing 55 kilos a side. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's insane. That's like crazy. And he's like, how much do you eat? And I was like, around like 4,000 calories. But right now I'm on a cut. I'm like 3,200 calories. And he's like, wow, you want to get bigger than this? Like, you want to get bigger than that? And I was just like, in my brain, I can't even compute because I'm like, I look like shit and I've got no size on me. But that's because, like, even us who've been training for a long time and probably look better than the majority of people overall, we're looking up still. We're still looking up the hill at the top, you know? So it's like, no matter what you do, that's always going to be there. So just take note of your improvements over time and don't beat yourself up so much for not being Chris Bumstead or, you know, Big Ramy or whatever. You know, you're not, doesn't matter if you're not Mr. Olympia, just improve.
Yeah. That's spot on. It's Debbie Cohen did a post like the other day, which was great. I think it was yesterday or something, which was when she broke like an all-time world record total, but she dropped her last deadlift. And she still PR'd on the deadlift. And she was like, oh, I hate this meet. Like, it's the worst meet ever. Like, I'm super sad about it. But she added, like that's how she felt in the time, right? And she was like, how sad is that? You know, I just beat everything. And, like, cumulatively, like, my total was way up. I'd done the best lifts on the platform that I've ever done as a set. And because I almost got a better one on the deadlift, I was like, oh man, I've ruined it. What a chance I had. We as humans, to protect ourselves, we focus, which is basically what she talks about. We focus on the negatives as like a defense mechanism. And you have to kind of get away from that. Yeah, if I take my own self as like, I've been a natural athlete my entire life, and I'm trying to get as strong as possible. And sometimes I'll be like, all right, this is my lift I'm aiming for. And then I'll see someone on Instagram that just bangs out that lift for like 17 reps. And you're like, oh, no. What am I doing? Yeah, but you have to then go like, there's also someone that will look at you. And if you're, it's like a negative domino effect, right? If I let that negatively overwhelm me, and then I lift something that someone else deems to be unachievable, then they're going to do the same thing. And then it goes back to the propensity of people to, instead of learning about nutrition and training, to just go straight to the anabolics to try and get to that level they want to be at, you know, putting their health at risk, not doing their due diligence, all that kind of stuff. So you have to almost, we've all been there, you know, like where I remember, I think it was the first time I deadlifted 230. I missed 235. And I was like, oh, well, this is rubbish, even though I'd never deadlifted over 500 pounds before. And and you remember that negative. You've got to actually, like, you know, they say, take a seat and smell the roses for a second and be like, you know what, that's good. Like I've got better. I'm never going to be as strong as someone who's enhanced, but I can damn well give it the best shot I can, you know.
Yeah, because you always value negative comments, even if commenting someone on you, you're gonna like you remember the negative one way.
Yeah, that's just a human trait.
Yeah.
That's why trolls get, like, that's what they love. Trolls on the internet, these poor celebrities and things like that who are trying to, if the ones that are trying to spread a positive message, they're like, right, if I can inject even one negative comment, I know that's going to sit with them, and they may stop doing what they're doing, and that's what gives them a rush, you know. And they're one of those true sort of cancers on the world.
Yeah, which is I think like you have to be like rational about these things. Like if you compare it to someone like Mr. Olympia, like do you put the same work in as Mr. Olympia did in the last 20 years or whatever? Plus, do you have the genetic for it? Because you might do the same, and then 20 years later, you're not gonna look like that because his muscle insertion is just way better than yours, or way more aesthetic than yours. So you're never gonna be satisfied. Even if you did everything and you know used all the all the PEDs and everything in your life, then you're still not gonna be satisfied because you just don't have the genetic makeup for it, even if you put the hard work in. And is it worth it? Like, you know how much money in bodybuilding? Not much, unless you are like super top level. And then
unless you're winning it, basically.
Yeah. Which is very hard, you know. It's very subjective as well. It's not like,
not for sure.
Not kind of like, even powerlifting is better because it's like numbers, you know. Can you lift it up and then you are better? But if you just go on a stage, it's like, you know, who looks better? It's hard to say. Like there's not. It's not an
arguably 2020 Chris Bumstead. No one even got near him. Like if you have some knowledge of bodybuilding, like
you bloody love him.
I do bloody love the dude. Looks ridiculous. The dude does look ridiculous. But it is what you're saying about like origins, insertions, all these kind of stuff, genetics. You know, like there's footage of Chris Bumstead, like 19 years old, playing football natty, American football natty, and he had just been like training for like a couple years, whatever, but like not like going crazy, but he had been training in the gym for a couple years. He looked better than like 95% of people, and it's like he's that 0.0000001%. Like there's so few people like that on the planet, and yet we're all like, why don't I look like that? And it's like, just focus on what you can do. See what look at you. Just look at what you need to improve about you that you can do something about. Stop worrying about. It's difficult. It's a really difficult lesson to learn. I'm still trying to learn it, but I think we're all to some extent still trying to learn it. But if you can focus on your goals and your improvements and not someone else's, you're going to be way happier.
And also, if you like, any possible like competing in any sports, or even just doing your best, as you said, Gus, like a big PR, and you're not happy, like the journey, what you got you there, has changed you as a person, because this took you 10 years of hard work to pick that 500 pounds up, right? This didn't happen in the last 12 weeks. You might felt like, oh, this is my last training program and I have to pull this 500 pounds deadlift or whatever, or 600 pounds. But then what got you there is 10 years of hard work, and it's probably changed you as a person, because the 10 years younger you probably wouldn't do it, even if you have the bone density and the muscle mass, because you become a different person. So I like what iron makes me as a different person. It's give you the discipline. It turns you in a better version of yourself, even if you're not a Mr. Olympia or whoever compare yourself to.
Yeah, I think that was very eloquently put. I think that's almost what you said there. It's essentially how my brain works into why I've never wanted to be. I've always wanted to be natural. It's almost exactly what you just said there. It's that the sort of the self-fulfillment I get for knowing that I did it is the overwhelming theme that's in the back of my head. Yeah, there's always like there's those demons that are like, well, I could be better, I could be this, and blah 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 blah. But it's that achievement that you get from you did it, and that's one of the problems we briefly touched on that before. When people are enhanced, it's like they don't know how much is them, and then when they have to go off or they have to cycle, that they don't know if they're like happy, sad, they can't tell what their emotions are. It's one of the sort of driving factors which made me sort of take the long route in training. And I think if people go long enough and really dive into it, they'll realize that they have a genetic propensity for something.
Yeah.
Something they'll be good at. There'll be something that they go, like someone in the gym will go, bloody hell, that's ridiculous. That's so good. You're great at that. Yeah. Like there was a guy in the gym the other day who he was like 65 kilos and he was doing dips with 60 kilos. Yeah. So I was like, dude, that's ridiculous. That's super strong. Yeah. And he may not have realized that was great because whatever he perceived himself as smaller or so and so. But like that's ridiculous. That's a huge level of strength. Everyone has their things they're better at. Yeah, more athletic, but that's an element of strength as well. Like changing direction, jumping, all of those kind of things. You'll find you have something that you're good at.
Or you might be like that guy Alima Omega or whatever, and just be like
monster,
a god among men, and he just has to live with us guys.
Yeah, I love that. That was such a good.
He's just like explosive, strong, athletic, powerful, just like aesthetic. Just like it's like fuck off. Like you can't be good at all of it. How is this happening?
I'm sure he feels something missing. He's just as
he's
miserable.
Probably looking at other guys like, oh, I wish I looked like Larry. And it's like
he's just as miserable as anyone else. Yeah. Okay. Final words, guys. That was nice. Final words, Charlie. Tell me something good. Some positive notes in the end.
Oh, Jesus. Fucking give me a blank page.
There's a lot of pressure there. Being positive. Come on.
Yeah, be positive. Positive is that we're back in the gym. The gyms are open. Look, the country's mostly vaccinated now. A huge percentage of the population is vaccinated now. So it looks like probably we're not going to go back into lockdown. Fingers crossed. Make the most of the gym. Get in there. Be consistent. Train hard. Eat well. Do your own research. And make sure you have as much knowledge as you can to make the most of that opportunity to be in the gym. Be fit. Be healthy. Be strong.
That was nice. Gus?
Hit all
Anything
the
else?
basics and progress. Basically what he said, but short.
Yeah.
You had to make it short and concise, didn't you? And then just left it alone.
Yeah. Get all the compounds in every aspect of life.
Oh, nice. Beautiful. All right, gentlemen. It was amazing as always. If anyone, just stay here for a second. If anyone looking for trainers, we are there in PureGym Brighton Central. Charlie has got great clients as well as me. So look it up. I'm gonna link their Instagram and website and whatever in the description below, so you can find them as well. But just come up in, you can contact it through the website or just walk in, come in, talk to us, and we can help whatever you need. Hey, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, mate.
Based on our hairstyles.
Amazing.
Yeah, we've got the whole range.
Yeah. So whatever your favorite hairstyle is, you could just pick that one.
Yeah.
All right, cheers, guys.
Okay.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
All right,
See you
bye.
later, guys.